Let's look at the Bitcoin charts and MSTR charts and get prepared for the week to come. So I have 14 charts I want to show you. This is my first one, the Bitcoin chart. It's my green channel chart, which contains all the price action going back to the 2017 top. You can see here that we are currently within striking range of the top of this channel, which is sitting at about 112,200 for Bitcoin. That would be, kind of a strong resistance. And then on the low end, I've seen some smart people out there on crypto Twitter talking about we may see the price sweep down to knockout leverage. It could go down as low as, 100K, 99K. To me on this chart, the middle of this channel would take us down to like 96,300. Anything lower than that, I would be pretty concerned. But if we were to go and tag that, to me, that would actually be pretty healthy because that would be where the 21 EMA is, which every time we tag that in the past has kicked off the big run-ups. Okay, so now technically we did go through the 21 EMA right here. That was the week of 21 April 21st. So I don't think we need to do it, but if we did just reconnect with it one more time right here, I think it would just be all systems go. The next chart is my red chart. So you can see here, I'm trying to give Bitcoin, and this is Bitcoin again, weekly bars, just more room to the upside. So it's again, just how you're connecting either the lows or the highs, the previous lows or the previous highs. So this one gives it more upside. And you can see there is a resistance that I drew in this yellow line. Next week's candle is going to be, and these are weekly candles, resistance at 112,700. Okay, so you see it's another way of looking at it just by connecting the previous tops. 112,600, 112,700 would be a resistance. If we were to sell off and reconnect, I guess the 21 day would still be the same on this chart. So, but one thing worth noting is if we were to break through next week, well, the first upside target would be something like around here in the middle of this channel. Well, I'm not saying it'll happen within a week, but I think we'd be working towards the middle of this channel that you can see here. And that would be at around, $150,000 Bitcoin. And I'm going to say it's my prediction, but like I'll show you the charts to support it. It's not just going to be a gradual move up. Like, how we took out the previous all-time highs recently and then price just kind of crept up, $1,000 here and there. It's not going to be like that at some point because there is a very significant price level on the log chart for Bitcoin and a corresponding chart for MicroStrategy. And that has defined massive run-ups, like true banana zone run-ups. And that would be coinciding with these breakouts. So I'm going to show you those charts soon. Stay tuned. The next chart here is just kind of the previous parabolas here in Bitcoin. And what I did is I connected the previous tops over to the next parabola, the next kind of banana zone breakout. So if you connect 2017 top to the 2020 run-up, we broke through that with a massive weekly candle. And then we proceeded to run up from there. So from where we exceeded the previous top, we went up about 200%. So now if we do this with the 2021 top of 69,000, nice, and move that over, okay, and we've already broken through that, you can see that if we were to run up 200%, I think I'd actually have to scroll this chart up even further. So if we were to run 200%, that would take us up here to 209,000, let's just call it. So you can see that there are some potential massive moves on the horizon. I'm not saying that they have to mimic what happened in the last time, but these things do tend to have very similar patterns that play out. That's why I'm showing you the charts through different perspectives so that hopefully you'll start to detect some of these patterns. It's always good to have a plan. It doesn't mean that at 208,000, I'm going to be all out of Bitcoin or something, but you know what I mean? That I'd be selling all my Bitcoin. Just saying it's good to have these levels in mind. So the next one is the exponential, the log chart for Bitcoin. And what I added to this chart is a parabola because I noticed it's kind of got the upside down parabola that connects all of the tops on Bitcoin. Now there's two ways to draw it. I'll show you the first one that I have in orange here. Okay, and what this might represent, and I'm just going to do I'm going to clone some bars here and just kind of show you what this run-up may look like so that we have some sort of a theoretical visual here. But it would look something maybe like this, okay, if we were to break through or when we break through, right, wishful thinking. It could look something like that, okay? So I just cloned the bars from a previous run-up in Bitcoin, and that would take us to 225,000 in November of 2025. And this actually would make some sense because this other parabola that I have in more of a muted gray, I can make it, maybe I'll make it just red for now. This other parabola is just me connecting other tops. So you can see here, from the release of Bitcoin, the red parabola connects. and then the orange just kind of connects from the next top that happened, or I guess two tops after it was launched. Bitcoin was launched. And I like the orange one because it gives more room for upside. The red one was a little bit more muted. And by the way, anybody who thinks these are just random lines on the chart, like, please, like, I know you want to be the smartest person in the room and drop the comment that says all this is stupid and it's all just coincidence. It's hilarious. But like, jump into TradingView and actually try it for yourself. Because what you'll notice if you start playing with the parabolas is, like, if you move any aspect of the parabola, like if I'm down here and I move it just a little bit, it throws everything off up top. So when I'm drawing these, I'm like fighting with them for a while, trying to make sure that they're lined up as closely as possible. And then I'm like, wait a second, well, if I connect, you know, this top right here instead of the first one, I get a different result that leaves room for more upside. So the red parabola says Bitcoin goes to 166,000, 167,000. The orange says, no, we can go up to 223,000. So I think both are realistic targets. And what I like about cloning those bars, you know, and this wasn't really planned, but like I cloned them and look where they kind of resist. They rub up against that red parabola multiple times. You get a fake out and then you fall back in and then you break out weeks later. So, I mean, this could actually be something like price action that we should be prepared for, where it does kind of struggle and then it continues higher, you know what I mean, on that breakout as part of a move ultimately from the initial breakout we would be looking for next week. If Bitcoin gets above 115,400, okay, if we get above that, then we'd be really paying attention for price to move quickly. I'd wait for a weekly close above it, honestly. And then honestly, there could be a back test too, so you got to be prepared. But then you should start to see the real like banana zone price action. All right, that was the exponential chart. This is also log scale for Bitcoin. I saw this on Twitter. I wish I knew who to credit, but I don't have the tab open. I apologize. They basically just said you get these broadening wedges for the Bitcoin price expansion, and then you get the bull flags in red. So blue, broadening wedge, big price appreciation, red, bull flag. Now this is on the log scale, so it's like these price movements are significant. Like these little gaps higher, when compared to the previous ones, it may not seem like, oh, Bitcoin's going to run that much, but because it's exponential, like just to the end of the, and I didn't even measure these out, so this is just me kind of drawing lines at random. This up here would take us to like 185,000. So just looking at the previous patterns, like that seems completely within the realm of possibility. Just eyeballing it, right? I know we can get more into the weeds than that, but I mean, I'm showing you so many charts. Let's just call it a day on that chart for now. Move on to the next one. This is the Bitcoin to gold ratio. Now, the way that I was able to call the top in gold and the rotation into Bitcoin to the day was because you had this red line support down here that I probably should make a little bit bolder. Literally, I was like, well, it's either going to collapse and Bitcoin's in serious trouble, or it's going to pivot. And what do you know? I even called 3,500 an ounce gold. Then money rotates out of it into Bitcoin. It happened to a T perfectly. And we had that run up, that nice run up that coincided with MicroStrategy, stock price appreciation as well. Well, as you can see here, Bitcoin to gold ratio, it's not telling us too much, but I did notice that these white lines that I drew here at the same angle, kind of providing overhead resistance, kind of, sort of, maybe, I don't know. It's not something I'm going to be using as like a strong trading indicator, but it's something I noticed that we should pay attention to. I think maybe when we break out of this overhead decline line, we may see kind of another rapid price appreciation of Bitcoin relative to gold. But right now we're not really near that. And next week we would be eyeing, well, I guess this isn't really telling us anything. It's just doing kind of a ratio. So, but we would be eyeing that level right here, looking for a, you know, plus 10% Bitcoin outperformance, maybe 11% outperformance Bitcoin relative to gold. All right, moving on to MicroStrategy here. Similar chart to the first one I showed you with Bitcoin. It's the green channel that contains all the price action. I did just draw this bull flag here in the middle, and you can see that we broke out in MicroStrategy May 5th. We ran the price up to 430, and then we turned around. Now, I can show you why that happened when we get to the log scale chart for MicroStrategy. It'll make a lot more sense. But when price turned around, it's not like anything too crazy happened. Like we haven't reconnected with the 21. This is weekly, so let me turn just to daily real quick. So we're trading below the 21-day EMA. Oh, no, we closed above it, actually. Yeah, we did. We closed above it. So that's a pretty good daily close on Friday. Anybody that was in my private group, MSTR Generational Wealth, I did call the price target of $370.80. So $370.80 being an entry point for MicroStrategy. I was off by a few cents, I think by 11 cents there, so not a bad call. Going back to the weekly bars, you know, a lot of the big takeoffs have started when we reconnect with the 21-day, you know, as denoted by that white line right here. So if we were to reconnect with it, if Bitcoin did sell off down to that like 100K, 99K, whatever, that would be an incredible, and probably, if I had to guess, this is not financial advice, of course, but probably be like the last chance to enter. Like, I know I would be buying there. I might even be doing like options and stuff like that. That would be such a strong entry. And I'll talk about another opportunity for trading options theoretically if you wanted to do that. But we also did connect with the 21 week right here as well, and that was on April 21st. So I still think we're eligible to just break out and not have to reconnect. All right, here's MSTR, red chart, a more aggressive, like leaving room for more aggressive price expansion. You can see the 3 parabolas here that we've had recently in MicroStrategy's price, February 2024 to March. Then you had the November 2024 run up, and now I believe we're in an even bigger kind of parabola structure. And if this just takes us to the top of this parabola, that would be $880 MSTR, but it could certainly go higher, as supported by this red channel here, which, I mean, this is like not a stretch at all. This channel is on the linear chart. I just connected the bottoms right here to get these angles, okay? If MicroStrategy was to break down or take longer to break out, then the angle of these expansion channels would get reduced, okay? And then all of a sudden, MicroStrategy's blow off top levels would probably need to come down as well, just saying, within reason. So the earlier MicroStrategy breaks out, the better. If you're irresponsibly long MSTR like I am, how much would it be worth to you to have somebody who's in the charts daily looking for the perfect entry for shares and options, and eventually looking to see if we might have topped and it's time to take profits? If this is something that interests you, I want to invite you to check out my MSTR Generational Wealth community linked below. Also, just for fun, let's clone this run up right here and just kind of move it over and see what it might look like. I'm gonna have to increase this, something like that. Could you guys see that? So I just cloned the previous run up, and that would put us at MSTR $1,030. That would actually be at the end of July, so that might be a little aggressive. But with the parabola, it's kind of giving me guidance on, without trying to invalidate it. And I also might not have drawn it perfectly too. I mean, again, like as the price action matures, you can kind of reconnect. It's not a perfect science, but you can see how quickly, within reason, like nothing is a stretch here, hopefully, MicroStrategy could go as high as, $1,050 the first week of August. And that's not a stretch. You just clone the previous price action, put it inside this parabola. It's inside the red channel. We're not having to envision breaking out of channels and anything like that. The next one here, I love this chart. I made it earlier this week. Look at this pattern here back in the 2020 to 2021 run up in MSTR. 1, 2, 3. Okay. You run up big, you consolidate, you run up big again, consolidate. Then you get in step 3, the mega blow off top. Okay. Now let's measure just number 3 real quick right here. We had a price appreciation of 124%. Now I'm going to switch from daily to weekly bars. And what you guys are going to notice is we are seeing a very, very similar structure, but on a significantly larger scale playing out right in front of us. So what we just saw, we've already seen the first phase, we've seen the second phase, and we are soon hoping to break out and enter the third phase, where we would look forward to, up to 124% price appreciation minimum, which would take us to $909 MSTR. So again, anybody who has big price targets, like, it depends how big your price targets are, but like these are all reasonable. Like MSTR doubling, tripling, etc. is definitely in the cards, and it's supported by previous price action. This is the MSTR log scale chart. This is one of my favorites for defining the breakouts. You see these white lines that have defined the previous breakouts, the previous 1, 2, 3, and then further back here, there was another 4 right here, and potentially more depending on, how much of a stretch you want to go. But there were serious breakouts for at least 4 of them, where as soon as we closed above, well, actually you did get a fake out right here. That's brutal. But besides that, like basically when we've gotten closes above these breakout lines, price has appreciated extremely quickly. So if you got something like this to happen, let's just clone these bars and put them against the parabola. Like you could get MSTR. Okay, well, this is why I don't like to do this on the exponential scale. And I do see people on like YouTube and Twitter that do this. And I don't think it's nearly as realistic, because that put us at MSTR like 3,000. Now, I do think that there's scenarios where that could happen, but I don't, in terms of like doing the TA, I don't think that should be done that way. You know what I mean? I think you'd probably scale this down. And I don't know. I think the $1,000 price target is one that we should, I don't want to say expect, but I think it's much more reasonable than a $3,000 price target. So once we break through, I told you guys that there was another chart that would make the previous discussions about price kind of skyrocketing seem a lot more reasonable. Well, it's the exponential chart here. And next week, we would be looking for MicroStrategy to close above $410 basically. And that could start the breakout. Okay. Here's MSTR to Bitcoin. And the one thing that I noticed was sort of this decline line, and this is a weekly chart, by the way, so long-term time frame here, coming up against the bottom of this parabola support as well. Once MicroStrategy breaks through, I do think we'll see, a similar run up maybe to what we saw here, where MicroStrategy really starts to outperform Bitcoin. But I could be wrong too. I mean, I think Bitcoin runs, but I think this is where the MNAV stuff comes into play with MicroStrategy, the euphoria, the fact that you can just log into Robinhood and put all your money into, I'm not saying anybody should do this, but like you get the Wall Street Bets crowd to just YOLO everything into MSTR, MSTR call options, etc. And all of a sudden you can get that crazy outperformance when when reasonable people on the outside looking in might be like, but why? And it's like, well, because this is just what people opted to do. And it was a lot easier to buy MicroStrategy than it was to buy Bitcoin. I'm not saying that it is or isn't, but that might be some people's logic, right? Even though Robinhood lets you buy Bitcoin just as easily. All right, here we go. This is the MSTR to SPY ratio. Okay, so dividing it by the S&P. And what do you know? You get these kind of consistent decline lines here. When you do break out of them, you do typically see a run in MicroStrategy relative to the SPY. I don't know if you guys saw, but like the SPY's in what most would say was pretty bearish structure, a rising wedge that we just closed outside of last week, which would, feasibly support like a nice MicroStrategy outperformance in the near term. And then once you start breaking out of this level, you could really see, again, another breakout that would theoretically coincide with the exponential chart breakout as well. And, this sort of a price run up. So it all kind of, again, we're looking at different perspectives, but marrying them up to each other and making sense of them. And when you start seeing all these charts that make sense, including like Bitcoin and, MicroStrategy more or less derives its value from the price of Bitcoin, like it all is lining up. Hopefully you guys see it. I'm not telling you, oh, it will break out next week. I'm saying when it breaks out, number one, we'll know because the exponential chart has it pretty clearly defined on both Bitcoin and MicroStrategy, but then it's going to coincide with the breakouts on a lot of these other charts. One last one that I haven't looked at in the past, MSTR to VIX. I just thought this was interesting because it looks like it could be a parabola, but it's immature. Like it needs to mature a little bit for me to really buy into this structure. I don't know. I've never seen it. And one thing I should mention too, the MSTR chart, where'd it go? On the exponential chart, we have a parabola. Like that's insane. I've never seen a parabola structure on the exponential chart. Like, I do look at a bunch of different equities. I'm not saying that I've seen the entire stock market. But I do spend a lot of time looking at other companies just to develop like a control, like a baseline, and then compare it to MicroStrategy. And this is a legit parabola structure forming on the exponential scale, which is why I'm saying like $1,000 price target is very much in reason, but you could go higher. And if anybody wanted to argue, no, we're going to 2,000, we're going to 3,000, like the parabola structure on the exponential supports that we could actually do that. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good week and let's hope for the best.